there was a non-terrestrial officers list, and I can't remember the file name of the spreadsheet, but the heading on the column was non-terrestrial officers.
Here's your list of charges. You hacked into the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Department of Defense, and NASA, amongst other things. Why?
I was in search of suppressed technology, laughingly referred to as UFO technology. I think it's the biggest kept secret in the world because of its comic value.
Because he was like, I'm going to find out what the government knows about UFOs. So he hacked into the systems, NSA, CIA, DIA. But Gary McKinnon took it upon himself, a computer hacker, to find out if the government had proof of alien visitation. And he spent a couple years hacking systems, and he found...
Yes, there's UFO technology, there's anti-gravity, there's free energy, and it is extraterrestrial in origin, and we've captured spacecraft and reverse engineered it.
We're using anti-gravity?
Yeah.
When I was about 12 or 13, I'm pretty sure I was under 14 anyway, I saw my first and last actual sighting of an unidentified flying object, lights in the sky that I couldn't explain. And I was looking from an upstairs window, and this light went across from almost vertical to the horizon in about, 3 to 5 seconds. It was a pretty orangey red, but it was moving in Brownian motion in this arc, so it wasn't a clean arc. Literally, like, what the hell can move like that with such speed and left and right, but just over the horizon, and that was it. But yeah, time goes on, and you grow up. And you learn things, and the darker side of the politics surrounding UFOs. I learned a lot more about that. You just imagine that some group of people has this technology somewhere. There's so much evidence for it.
He knew the answers were out there, and if no one else would look for them, he would.
Your personal information is out there, exposed and vulnerable. It's on you to protect yourself. That's why we trust and personally use Aura, today's sponsor. Aura does all the heavy lifting to keep you safe online. They take action against these data brokers and companies who are selling your personal information. Going after them directly, you don't have to lift a finger. Aura handles it. But that's not all. Here's where it gets even more serious. Aura doesn't just stop there. They continuously monitor the dark web for any trace of your personal data. If they find your information floating around in places it shouldn't be, Aura will alert you immediately. They'll let you know fast if anyone is trying to use that data to access your credit accounts or even drain bank accounts. And if the worst happens to you, Aura has you covered. They offer up to $5 million in identity theft insurance to help you recover if someone gets a hold of your information and tries to do real damage. Don't wait until it's too late. Head over to our link, aura.com/anonymous, to try Aura free for 14 days. That's plenty of time for Aura to find out if any of your personal data is exposed and start protecting you from these threats.
Now let's get right into it. Here, the interviewer asks him directly, how did he hack them? What did he find? And this is where things start to get interesting.
How did you go about hacking into the computers to find what you were looking for?
Well, unlike the press would have you believe, it wasn't very clever. I searched for blank passwords. I wrote a tiny Perl script, the Perl language, that tied together other people's programs that searched for blank passwords, so you could scan 65,000 machines in just over 8 minutes.
So you went and actually accessed 65,000 machines sitting on, I guess, 65,000 desks in different buildings?
No, because all 65,000 aren't necessarily live yet. You might find typically 5,000 might be live. And out of that, 500 might be Windows machines, then 50 might have blank administrator passwords, which is a pretty bad ratio for the world's largest military.
So you're saying that you found computers which had a high-ranking status, administrator status?
Yep.
It happened between 2001 and 2002, a time where the internet still felt small, quiet, almost innocent. While most people were just discovering email, One man, sitting alone in a flat in North London, was breaking into the most secure networks on Earth. No masks, no team, no money trail, just a dial-up connection and a belief that somewhere inside NASA and the US military, there were files the public was never meant to see. What followed would become the biggest military computer hack in history, a digital breach that shook the Pentagon, NASA, and the Department of Defense. For months, McKinnon quietly wandered through their systems, sometimes even leaving polite messages on their screens. He wasn't deleting files or causing damage, he was searching. And when the story broke, it hit every major news outlet. CNN, BBC, and The Guardian called him the man who hacked the Pentagon from his bedroom. But behind the headlines was something deeper. Gary claimed he wasn't looking for passwords or defense secrets. He was looking for proof of something far stranger. Proof that alien life and advanced technology were being hidden from the world. And soon, the evidence he stumbled upon would make even the most skeptical journalists pause.
And what did you use that to do?
I was searching for files and evidence in relation to the UFO question.
Were you the only hacker to make it in, past the slightly lower than expected lines of defense?
Yeah, exactly. There were no lines of defense. There was a permanent tendency of foreign hackers. You could run a command when you're on the machine that showed connections from all over the world. Check the IP address to see if it was another military base or whatever, and it wasn't. The General Accounting Office in America has again published another damning report saying that federal security is very, very poor.
So let's get this straight. While you were on a machine inside one of these computers in the Department of Defense, say, there were other hackers logged onto that machine as well from around the world.
Yeah, you run your NetStack command and you see the list, Turkey, Germany, Holland, everywhere.
It sounds unbelievable, but he wasn't the only one inside. While Gary was exploring the digital corridors of the US military, other connections were lighting up on the same machines, from Turkey, Germany, Holland, and places no one could explain. It was as if half the world had a key to the Pentagon, and no one noticed. The US General Accounting Office would later confirm it. Military cybersecurity was shockingly weak. No firewalls, no monitoring, no alerts. A single person from a London apartment had managed to walk into NASA's network. What Gary saw exposed more than just hidden files, it exposed a system built on illusion. And the craziest part? It could all be done from a computer you'd find in any living room.
Do you have any tips to stop hackers like yourself from getting into computers within companies or within homes?
Yeah, first of all, have a password. Don't have blank passwords. I think your first line of defense is stuff that's already part of Windows. So as well as having a good password, in the office environment, you should enforce log on, log off hours, so no one can log on before or after office hours. Simple tweak to make in the Windows security. Make sure everyone turns off the machines at night when they go home from the office, or make sure you turn off your router at night if you've got broadband and you go to bed at night. Turn off the remote registry service. There's a group called the Disclosure Project. They published a book which had 400 expert witnesses ranging from civilian air traffic controllers through military radar operators right up to the chaps that are responsible as to whether or not to launch nuclear missiles. So some very credible, very relied upon people, all saying that yes, there's UFO technology, there's anti-gravity, there's free energy, and it is extraterrestrial in origin, and we've captured spacecraft and reverse engineered it. And these are, very solid, reliable chaps in charge of launching nuclear missiles. So,
what did you find inside NASA?
One of these people was a NASA photographic expert, and she said that in Building 8 of Johnson Space Center, they regularly airbrushed out images of UFOs from the high-res satellite imagery. And using the same blank password hunting technique, I got down to Building 8, got a few blank passwording machines there, and what she said was there. There was folders called filtered and unfiltered, or processed and raw, or something like that. I got one picture out of the folder, bearing in mind this is a 56k dial-up.
So a very slow internet connection.
Oh, crikey, yeah, dial-up days. A 235 megabyte picture, and if you're talking 5 minutes a megabyte, obviously impossible to download. Also in a NASA proprietary image format, not a GIF or a JPEG or anything. So using the remote control program, I turned the color down to 4-bit color, the screen resolution really, really low, and even then this picture was still, juddering and coming onto the screen. But what came onto the screen was amazing. It was a culmination of all my efforts. It was a picture of something that definitely wasn't man-made. It was above the Earth's hemisphere. It was kind of looked like a satellite. It was cigar-shaped. It had geodesic domes above, below, to the left, to the right, and both ends of. And although it was a low-resolution picture, it was very close up. This thing was hanging in space. The Earth's hemisphere was visible below it. And no rivets, no seams, none of the stuff associated with normal man-made manufacturing.
What's interesting is that parts of Gary's story aligned with how NASA actually operated at that time. During those years, Building 8 at the Johnson Space Center was indeed responsible for processing and archiving satellite imagery before it was released to the public. Multiple former contractors have confirmed that image filtering was common practice back then, officially to remove classified satellites or sensitive details. So when Gary mentioned folders labeled filtered and unfiltered, that wasn't science fiction. That was exactly how NASA handled their raw and public data sets during that era. Even the format he described, the proprietary NASA image files, was real. The agency used a system called FITS, and several in-house formats incompatible with normal image viewers. So yes, what Gary saw fits perfectly with what was there, both technically and procedurally.
Is it possible this is an artist's impression?
I don't know. No, for me it was it was more than coincidence. I mean, this woman had said, this is what happens in this building, in this space center. I went into that building, that space center, and saw exactly that. And the folders were even called unprocessed and processed, or raw and filtered or something, so.
And maybe that was the confirmation he'd been searching for. Everything matched. The building, the folders, even the format. Too precise to be a coincidence. Too convenient to be an accident. It's the kind of moment where curiosity turns dangerous, where truth and trespass become the same thing. And from here on, someone, somewhere, was watching him very closely.
Do you have a copy of this? It came down to your machine.
No, it came, the graphical remote viewer works frame by frame. It's a Java application. So it's nothing saved on your hard drive, or at least if it is, only one frame at a time might be.
So did you get one frame?
Nope.
What happened?
Well, once I was cut off and my picture disappeared, I was
You were actually cut off at the time you were downloading the picture?
Yeah, I saw the guy's hand move across. And bear in mind, you're not downloading it, you're viewing it remotely. So in a way it is downloading because the picture's coming from there to yours, but you're not downloading it as a named file to your hard drive. You're viewing it through an application. And also I thought that I was safe there. I didn't think I'd be caught, 3/4 of the way through of looking at the first picture I'd looked at. And also I was amazed that it was how she said it would be.
So you were cut off while you were looking at this picture. A few months later, you were caught. What happened on that day?
For something that was supposed to be nothing more than a hoax, the punishment didn't match the crime. Gary was facing a lifetime behind bars, and that alone tells you this wasn't just about hacking. But then, something strange happened. Instead of being locked away forever, he was released. No public trial, no leaked evidence, just silence. Some believe that's when the story changed, that the narrative was rewritten from the inside out. A deal made in the shadows, freedom in exchange for a version of the truth that ends right before the full image loads. Others say he's allowed to talk, but only in fragments, never the whole picture. And ever since that day, he's been silenced, and maybe that's why his story feels unfinished. Because sometimes the silence is the evidence. You don't have to see the image, you just have to ask why the moment he saw it, everything changed. But let's go back to the one thing that started this entire chain of events, the non-terrestrial officers. Because buried in that single spreadsheet might be the reason everything else happened.
But I'd scan and look for documents, etc., and I found an Excel spreadsheet that was actually called, or at least in the heading of the column, it said non-terrestrial officers. And I was like, oh my God, that's just
non-terrestrial officers.
Non-terrestrial officers with ranks and names, and then a separate sheet with tabs for material transfer between ships. And these were, I don't remember the names now. It's a long time ago. A lot of people give me a hard time for not remembering the names and stuff, but it was a long time ago.
Right.
But non-terrestrial officers thought, well, it must be, let's try and cut out all the possible conventional explanations first. I searched for that term, it was nowhere. It was nowhere at all. Now if you search for the term, you only find links to me and stuff that I've said.
Right, I see.
So it wasn't a standard thing in the military at all.
Right.
So I took that to be they must have a secret space-based.
So the non-terrestrial officers, what? It couldn't be astronauts.
It could be. I mean, that's the thing. It's up to you how you interpret that, isn't it?
Right.
But these ships were called USS whatever and USS whatever.
So they've started with USS.
Yeah. So that implies Navy, and I think the Navy do a lot of space stuff.
Right.
The US Navy.
And how many officers' names would you estimate were listed, and how many ships were listed?
Probably. Oh God. I think there's probably one screen full of officers' names. So what's that? 25 rows.
Right,
On an Excel
okay.
spreadsheet. And these were low resolution days as well. So you're talking
Yeah.
about 800 by 600 screens. Not very big. But the ships was probably, I don't know, a third of the spreadsheet.
So estimate how many different ship names you saw?
Oh God, maybe 8, 10.
8 or 10. And am I right in thinking that you then tried to search for those specific names?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right. And
Didn't find a thing.
right. So you think that they could be
Not
classified?
the names of the people, the names of the ships.
Yeah, but they could be classified secret or top secret names of some sort of craft or ship.
Yeah, obviously not public.
Maybe that's where the story really begins. Not with the hack itself, but with what it revealed. Because if even a fraction of what Gary found was real, then the world is operating on a truth far larger than what we've been told. Since then, the files have vanished, the systems have changed, and Gary has remained silent. No one knows what he truly saw or what he might still be keeping to himself. But what's strange is how it all ended. A man facing 60 years in prison, suddenly free. A confession that feels incomplete, and a truth that now lives only in fragments. Some say they let him go because the damage was done. Others believe they needed him to rewrite the story, to turn truth into noise. But you don't threaten a man with a lifetime behind bars for seeing nothing. And maybe that's the real mystery. Not what he found, but why we were never meant to see it.
If you enjoyed today's video on Anonymous Official, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks for watching and sticking with us.